Hello and welcome to Homebrew Adventures, the RPG show where we take wannabe adventurers and take them through a one-shot adventure created by you, the listener. I am your Dungeon Master, Corey Keller. Join me every episode where I take our group of heroes who like to dungeons and sometimes dragons, and we will see if they survive. Do they have what it takes? Is your adventure challenging? Let's find out on Homebrew Adventures.
Hi there, Turk here, Turk Turkleton. Well, I just kind of wanted to let you guys in on who I am, why I am the way I am. Well, I'll start with my earliest memory. My earliest memory is waking up in a cold room with dozens of other children. My parents weren't around. I've never known them. I don't want to know them. I've always looked after myself, and that's what I've done. I prefer to be left alone. I grew up in an orphanage, if that wasn't obvious by now. And it wasn't good, unfortunately. I grew up not trusting adults. Parents left me, and the adults that were running the orphanage were bad news. So I was going to go into a little bit of detail of my upbringing and my experiences at the orphanage that led up to where I am now. So here we go. Well, growing up, on many occasions, so I lived in this old building that honestly was pretty crappy. On many occasions, the caretakers there, caretakers is probably not the best word because they didn't take care of us, but the adults there mainly forced us to do their dirty work. We would have to clean and scrub the floors, literally do their dirty work, and what I mean by that is, gross stuff, but they wouldn't do it, so we had to. We would also have to tend to the livestock, and that would be something that I would typically enjoy doing. I liked being around animals, but cleaning up after them too, it's just something we had to do. And while we were doing all this, they would make us do all these chores, basically so they could sit around and get fat. They would threaten us with bodily harm if we did not abide by their wishes. So it's pretty messed up. As I got older and was able to fend for myself, I realized, what am I doing here? I can leave if I want. So I said, F this. and I ran away. And I took a few of my friends with me from the orphanage because none of us wanted to be there, of course. And since the last I've heard, I believe that the orphanage has since closed. I'm not sure why, but I am thankful to have heard this. It's horrible. While me and my friends were out, just in the real world, it was hard. It was hard to get by. We're all pretty young. And we agreed to live by the motto of, it's not stealing if I need it more than someone else. So, you do what you gotta do. But with my rough upbringing and kind of it's a pretty sad story. You wouldn't expect me to be as goofy as I am in the adventures that we go through. But one of my friends that I left with, he goes by the name of Toodles. When we'd hang out before, they'd always be like, there goes Turk and Toodles, BFFs. Anyways, Toodles encouraged me to never change that childlike, immature way about my humor, about the way I, present myself. He was my best friend, and we did what best friends do. We lift each other up when things look bleak. As thankful for his words and his friendship throughout my childhood and this part of my life. Unfortunately, we haven't seen each other in years. And, times were tough, and the last time I saw him was when we tried to pull off one of our bigger heists. This was just something that we did to get by. Typically, something that I always have tried to do is, I think grown-ups, even as I grow into be a grown-up, I still feel that grown-ups are no good, and I haven't had good experience with them. So when I see an injustice, I take it upon myself to correct it or take from them because they deserve it. Anywho, so we were in the town. Toodles and I were in the town of Selgant. And this is where the leadership was especially corrupt. This is where we ended up, where we were living for a while, and the people in charge here, the royalty of this town, it was kind of like a Robin Hood type situation, if that paints a picture. So Toodles and I decided to rob the castle, get in and take what we needed for ourselves to get by, and to leave the rest to sponsor an orphanage. We were really passionate about either opening up our own orphanage, being partners with somebody in line of an orphanage, because we did not have a good experience growing up, and we wanted to make sure that we could do what we can to make the experience better for these kids who had no choice but to be dropped off and live there. So we had this heist all planned out. We knew our roles. My role was, I went right up to the guards, straight up to him, and I said, I have an appointment with Hulorn about selling my fancy rugs. Rugs? Come on. I persuaded the guards with a pretty lame cover, to tell you the truth. Which is why I don't feel bad for robbing them. I mean, come on. I need to speak with the leader about selling rugs, but it worked. Anyways, we had an approximate timetable on how long we would be in and out, and then we'd meet in the next town over, which is Saerlun. For being a castle, this was one of my easier heists. I snuck around, which is something else that I gained proficiency in, and I got in and I got out. Honestly, I was expecting more of a challenge. When I was done, I went over to the next town, and I waited, and I waited. No sign of Toodles. I started to think, where is he? Why is it taking him so long? And then I started to think, maybe it was so easy for me to get in and get out, because maybe something happened. Maybe they were focused on something that was happening in the castle. Maybe he got caught. I hated it. I have no idea what happened. I tried to investigate, but the word was already out that the royals had been robbed. And even though I was in my disguise, I was nervous. I didn't want to get caught. Felt horrible, and my friend was gone. More time went by, and I decided to give all my goods that I had stolen to an orphanage nearby, kind of on the outskirts of the town of Saerlun. I began working there to try and prevent anything fishy from happening at the orphanage, and to make sure kids did not have to endure what I had to endure. I hate that it's been so long since I've seen Toodles. Is he alive? After a while, I decided I needed a break from the orphanage. I've been there, what now is several years, built something up, tried to forget the issues that I've had in my past and my separation from my best friend, and that I wasn't able to do anything. I decided to go out on my own take a little vacay. So I decided to train my replacement to make sure I was leaving the orphanage in good hands. And I started out on my own once again. A few years go by, and I'm still trying to figure out what to do with myself. Every once in a while, I think about my parents, who they could have been. I think about Toodles, and if he's even here. It seems like everyone important to me is gone. They leave. And just when I thought there was no one else, an old man showed up and explained to me that I had been chosen.